Okay, March 5th, Planning Board meeting. We are having our meeting 15 minutes early tonight. And the first thing on our agenda is Serpid to discuss...
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Recording. Recording.
Yep.
Tell everybody we're being recorded.
Okay.
Have to announce it? No?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
First thing on our agenda is the updating of the master plan, and we're being videoed and recorded.
Great.
And if you want to step up to the podium,
Sure.
state your name for the record. I know you were at the Selectmen's a few weeks ago.
I was, as was Lizette.
Yeah.
For the record, my name is Brad Cornock, Principal Comprehensive Planner with Survey. We'll be your project leads, Lizette Gonzalez and I, for the master plan. I prepared, I don't know, Bob, if you got the email in enough time, but I prepared like a little summary.
Yep, we have that.
You've got them, great. So that first item, I'd like to go through those 4 items with you tonight, so we can just get started with the project. The first item that we want to discuss with you is that whole idea of the planning board versus a master plan committee overseeing this. Now, with master general law, you're probably aware, the planning board has full authority over this plan, so you can lead it if you so choose. Other towns that we've worked with have designated a master plan committee to lead on the planning board's behalf, report to the planning board, but remember, in the end, the planning board has ultimate authority in endorsing the plan. And so we just wanted to have a discussion with you about that, answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, well, my biggest thing with we were on, most of the members were on the board when we did the original master plan.
Okay.
And we had several meetings, several committees. I do have, and I periodically go back and go through when we have certain things that are coming up for zoning changes or that type of thing. And I've made mention a few times along the years that all of these things were viewed as a good thing through a lot of citizen input, through a lot of committees.
Right.
There was a ton of work done on the last one. And all that does is it buys us discussion.
Okay.
To actually get something approved that you have, unfortunately, you seem to have, whenever there is something of interest, people will show up at the town meeting to vote. So if there's enough people who are saying we don't want the zoning change, they can rally enough people to show up at the town meeting to vote against it, or vice versa. But generally, it's usually the negative side of it. So if you look at the master plan, what are we going to actually, or how can we implement it as a planning board going forward?
Right. Right.
I guess would be my big question.
Sure.
Now I'll give you a second part of that. I personally would rather see a committee that is either appointed through input of planning board, selectmen, however that committee gets appointed. I would like to see a committee report to the planning board, only because a lot of times what happens is when planning boards present something as a zoning change, even though the master plan says it's in the master plan, it is viewed upon that we're the bad guys. That it's our, we're doing something that's
It was your idea.
under the cuff, and it's, it's always, he owns a piece of property over there, and that's why, they want it. And so there's an awful lot of that goes along and has in the past. So I think if a committee, and not the planning board, is the actual people who design it, but how would they report back to us so we sign up? Because I know through the state we're responsible for it.
Right. So on your handout, what we propose is a committee which has 2 members of the planning board who are part of that committee. So essentially, your 2 members would report back to the entire planning board on a regular basis about that progress. Or you could have members of the master plan committee report, just as I'm reporting to you today, at any of your planning board meetings. Or we can, in turn, assist with that. So that's the value of the master plan committee, is that you would have a seat, in fact, 2 seats on that committee, provided that you can contain the numbers, I guess. So as you can see on that list, what we've provided is essentially 11 members. And so really that's the decision of the planning board. Is 11 too large? Would you want to constrain it to 9? That might be an easier number to maintain a quorum for.
Well, if two members on the planning board, and then you have, why don't you run down the list of?
Sure. So you'd have 2 members of the planning board, 1 from town administration. That could be either the town administrator or a member of the Board of Selectmen. A member from the Council on Aging, School District, Conservation Commission, Parks and Rec Committee, Finance Committee, Historical Commission, and then we would propose 2 at-large members. And those, I put that in italics only because, you don't have to have that. It's just, it's an option for you if you wanted to have that be, say, a member of the public or another committee that, we didn't, or we neglected to leave off the list here.
I would suggest, if I may, the capital planning, somebody from capital planning, because that would have to be part in the
That's
next
great.
10-year forecast, if you would.
Great idea.
And you only have 2 at large, where if you look back at the original master plan, we had an awful, I think, majority of them were outside residents in different parts of the town.
Sure.
Is that, what I'm trying to do is, we're spending, what, $90,000, $75,000, $90,000? I'm trying to get this to be a real document.
Sure.
A real document that people in town can agree with and can say, okay, we, planning coordinator, Mr. Iafredi, somebody comes into his office, we're supposed to look by, if you read the bylaw at the state level, we're supposed to be working the town through our master plan.
Right.
Not the other way around. We don't do something and then change our master plan.
Right.
So I want that to work over the next 15 years. So is it beneficial that we, have these people on? All of these people are part of the town, and we can hear from the rest of the members of the board. Burke was here when we did the original master plan. So that's my goal. That's what I would like to see happen.
Great.
When have, other than the new town hall being built, there's not many things that were in the master plan that actually, came to fruition.
Okay.
So that's my biggest concern.
Sure.
So if it's a matter of, again, having more people on the outside, that's why at this point I would rather, there's been a lot of finger pointing, so I would rather myself not be involved, because people, I'm in construction, I build residential homes, so people think that because I have strong feelings for the town's future and been on the board for 18 years, people look at that and view that as differently, and they view that as he must own something over there. That's why he wants to change it. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. So I think yes, Bob.
If I can make a recommendation, Jeb and Lizette have been doing this for a long time, so they know a lot more as to what works. So I would ask them to tell us, what their experience has been in other towns, how the committees work in other towns, and give us some direction instead of trying to figure it out ourselves from square one. They've done it before. They've done it from a lot of local towns. What works best? Does a committee of 7 work best? Do we have to recreate the wheel? We have an old master plan. Is that a bones kind of thing that we're going to work off of and condense and try to make work better than it has in the past? So, without having a whole lot of discussion as to how we're going to do this, I think we have the experts here that.
Well, they put together this list, so I'm assuming that this is what they would recommend.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Because this is what they have, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's what they're going to recommend. So, and like I said, there's only a couple that's not basically in a town department. So I just want to make sure that that's the way to go. Then I'm all for it.
The only thing I would add is the consideration on the total number is just the quorum. So if you feel that people will attend these meetings and that you'll be able to have a quorum if action is needed, then we can support as many as you'd like in terms of members on that committee.
The key is to pick the right people. You got to
Right.
pick the right people.
Right.
People you know that will show up. But if I may, I think the committee is an excellent idea. And as I said, people you have named here, I think, are the right ones. The only thing I see missing here is capital planning, because that's got to be a part of the master plan for the town. I believe, and I'm not certain of this, a lot of people on the finance committee are also in capital planning as well. So there may be some overlap there. So
I don't think so.
No, not at all.
No.
Okay, then we need another body in there.
Yeah.
But you're right too. We also need some people from the public, because eventually implementing the plan is going to go out to the public. And I know that it doesn't always work that way, but that's the way that the town is run. That's our form of government is
Absolutely.
a town meeting. So we have to abide by it.
So one of the things that the committee can do as part of their agenda is have, just like the selectmen do, an opportunity to hear public comment. And so that's another way
Right.
to get that public input directly at those master plan committee meetings. But absolutely, having the public involved is essential.
Yeah.
Is essential.
Okay, so Burke, anything to add to that? Chris, anything to add to that first part?
No, but I agree with you on, basically spent $100,000 last time on a master plan. It doesn't get implemented, zoning and, how they vote at town meetings really creates what the future brings.
Yes,
There's a
Bob?
lot more to the master plan than just zoning. I mean, that's what we're talking about. There's a lot of things here. Do we build a new town hall? Do we build a new safety building? So there's a lot to it. It's not just a zoning issue.
But I mean, the thing
And
is,
those type of things, whether or not we build these things, that does go to town meeting, but in a different manner. I mean, that's a vote, and then it ends up on a ballot even to get the funding for those things.
Right.
We're going to be seeing that coming up for the safety building pretty soon in the May and April time period.
well, my point
May and
is,
next
if you
year.
do a master plan, you got to do something that you think can get implemented,
Exactly, yeah.
instead of some book that's going to sit on the shelf.
But I just don't want to give the impression that it's all about zoning, because it isn't. There's a lot more to it than that. Or let's put it this way, there should be a lot more to it than
There
just
is.
zoning changes.
Yeah, there is. It's just one part of it. Yes, Bob, you had your hand?
So I just need some direction from you, because this process has already started, so I don't want to leave tonight's meeting without some direction. So you're telling us this board, this body needs to appoint a committee?
Or at least suggest members. And I'm not 100% sure on the process internally for the town, but I think the selectmen then have to officially make the committee and appoint the members. At least that's my experience in other towns.
Now, it would be my opinion that we wait until after the election, because we're going to have a new member. I mean, it's not, you're 2 months away, or when is the?
April.
April.
25th.
So, are we going to not include that person, or are we going to?
Well, in fairness to whoever the new member is, I mean, it's kind of not fair to put a brand-new person in there and stick them
Especially
in
when
this
we're going
staff's
to,
care.
how long is the master plan going to be? 20 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
No, it's going to take 2 years. How long does the?
The shelf life?
It's a, yeah,
It's a 10-year document, but some towns take it 10 to 15 years, depending on the way they structure, but generally 10 years.
What Mr. Andrews is referring to is I'm not running for re-election. So there's going to be somebody new sitting here, and I wouldn't think it's fair to that person to stick them right in the middle of the master plan. I mean, there's 4 of you here that have been here for a while, and you're going to be here for a while longer. The 2, or whatever the right number is, should come from the other 4 here and not put the burden on somebody brand new.
Sure.
And you have a ways to go getting through. If we give you our direction, that's what we're looking to do, then you know what then as soon as we reappoint the board come April, so I
Right,
think our
those-
first meeting in May,
Yeah.
then we'll make a vote that night, and once board is reappointed, then we go from there.
Okay. So it sounds like what I'm hearing is that you would be in favor of the master plan committee.
Absolutely.
I would be.
Yeah,
I
me
mean, you
too.
get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think it's important.
You in favor of a committee versus,
Well, I remember last time we had a lot of little committees. So we brought the public in and got a lot of input from just anybody who was willing to be involved.
right. So, with that said, hopefully, the way this is, where it seems more of a script on who's being picked, which department they're coming from, because I think the one thing that we did say that came out of our original was we don't have enough actual department people. We have all these private subcommittees, but the problem is it might have been 8 people over here, this part of town, 3, you know what I'm saying? So I think at least the finance committee, the capital planning committee, these people that are on these committees, they know they're balancing the budget. So it's a good thing for them to say, okay, we will need more tax revenue. We should increase our business or our industrial on this side of town, because in 2020 or 2030,
Right.
our dollar amount is going to even off.
Right.
So I think it is a good idea to have these people involved.
I have a question, not a suggestion, just a question.
Sure.
Public safety, I don't see them represented here. And my question is, should they be?
So what we
Fire, police?
Yeah. Our typical process is to interview them independently, and then we report to the committee based on what we find from them.
Okay.
So our first step would be decide to make a committee and what its makeup's going to be.
Exactly.
Then start going to the selectmen and soliciting from each department or at
Just-
large, who
exactly.
may be interested.
Finding out who's going to serve on that committee, and then setting up at least the blessing by the selectmen to create that committee, and then importantly, setting up that first meeting, because that's really where we're
Okay.
going off.
Yes, Bob?
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that this board vote tonight to request that selectmen start putting that committee together so that you don't waste time, and then the 2 people from the planning board can be added once the election is over.
Oh, most definitely.
We have a committee, a standing committee right now. It's called the Government Study Committee. And there's been some discussion to convert the name of that committee to possibly the Master Plan Implementation Committee.
Does that include all of these departments?
Well, there's a lot of different people on that committee. I would say you would probably have a few people that would be represented on this list. It may be the case that some of these people don't need to be on the committee. Like, we don't have a real historic commission, so maybe there's no one.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those persons would be an at-large member. So although this is a framework,
Right.
we don't have to actually go by this
Right.
exact framework. We can pick and choose different people. So in order to keep the process going, because I don't want this to be put on the shelf at Serpent, I want them to continue working with us. I think you should recommend, have a vote tonight, and then selectmen can
All right.
start the
Well,
process. on
yeah, no,
Tuesday.
definitely, I agree. So,
And appointing should happen,
So,
as Dan said, after
with-
the election,
with-
because there's going to be a new selectman
with-
as well.
right,
coming
with
up.
that part, I think, why don't we move on, and then we'll do what Bob just mentioned, suggested at the end. We'll take a vote, so
Okay.
you folks can continue with the process, and then once the election is up, then we'll appoint 2 members of the board.
Okay, to serve on the committee.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so your part 2?
Right, so the second part, and this is hinging, dependent really on that master plan committee, is we'd like to present you with our branding that we've produced, as well as some promotional materials that we've produced, and Lizette has those tonight. And the reason we wanted to bring those to your attention tonight is because we want to be able to create that project webpage be able to promote the first event, which is really going to be your discovery workshop, which is next on my list of items to discuss. But really, we need your insight on these materials and perhaps conditionally their approval so that we can start pushing them forward and getting the word out about the project. So what you have there before you is a brochure, simply explains what a master plan is, what the process is. You have a comment card for the public. We'll be using that comment card throughout the 2-year effort to take any public comments. You also have a postcard, which we use as a save the date. So that's important for the first discovery workshop, which we're thinking about holding in May. And so in order to sort of move everything along, we need to be able to publicize that as best we can, provided that May is an acceptable timeframe for that first workshop. And I would suggest that if, until that committee is formed, because you still have the authority to endorse the plan, if you feel comfortable with this approach, we'd like your blessing on these so that, like I said, we can start moving that out into the public and start.
Well, again, I'm sure you use these in other towns, and like Bob mentioned, that's why we have you doing the master plan.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that you have, this must be something you've used in other towns, and it's...
Very successful. Yep.
So, we're not going to argue with that. Any comments on the...
Might ask. What is this a picture of? Because I've lived here 36 years and I don't recognize it.
Yeah.
Stone Porch.
Oh, okay.
That's
All
a
right.
hotel across the
I
street.
saw the water tower, but I couldn't picture that side
Recent
of
picture,
Stone
it's got
Porch.
the new gas station in it.
Is there going to be a presentation at town meeting? Which is our biggest meeting of people who care enough to show up.
Typically at the end. A lot of towns, like I said, that you don't need to endorse it at town meeting, and there doesn't need to be a town meeting vote, but a lot of towns take it to town meeting to get that final endorsement.
But wouldn't the town meeting have to, allocate the money?
No, that's been done a while
For
ago.
the study, yes, the $70,000 was passed at the last town meeting.
Correct.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think they've done a good job with branding here. It would have been nice if the drone went up when the leaves were on the trees, but I think they had a little bit of a difficult time trying to find Raynham's identity, because we have, little spots scattered all over town. We don't have like a central location, like a rotary with big buildings that you can call.
Now, is this just a picture, or this is just a starting point? Because I definitely don't like that picture for our town
Just to give-
focus.
just
I
to give
can't
you a
recognize it,
flavor.
a lot of people won't.
Right, that's what it's going to look like that, and I'm sure the committee will come up with ideas on,
This will evolve over time.
Right, okay, that's fine, that's,
Yeah.
Bob, as you were saying, we don't have a center anything.
So I put
And
that
that
out, if
was-
anyone has an idea of something that they could use.
if we followed the 2000 master plan, we would have a center.
Would buy up all of the properties in the square by King Street, Orchard Street, South Main Street. and
Yeah, the Four
Turn it
Corners
into a-
Stone Church, I mean, that isn't a landmark for this town, I don't know what is.
Okay.
You use that.
By St. Anne's, is that the?
No, right down
Just down here, okay, yep.
Stone Church.
Stone Church, Johnson's Pond.
Sure, yeah, we have some shots of that. We can insert those.
Okay, continue. Burke?
No, I was just saying that the company that was in charge of the master plan last time was pushing hard for us to have a center and to, again, buy up the houses and turn that triangle into a real center of town.
Oh, yeah, no, I know, it's,
Okay. So what
I'm sure you must have read all the 2000 master plan.
We're still going through it now. Yeah, that's part of that first process, is going through all of your planning documents and trying to summarize it for that first workshop. That's what this
Okay.
effort is all about.
All right, next.
Okay, so the last item really is talking about the timeline of the workshops. So right, as you can see on your list, what we propose, the first workshop was what we call the discovery workshop. That's what we talk about all of the chapters in the master plan, and there's a lot of them. So we propose that to be in May. Now, we know that May can sometimes be a busy month. there's Mother's Day, there's Memorial Day. So, and we typically do our workshops on a Saturday morning, but that's, again, one of the things that we would ask for your input. Are Saturday mornings good times for public events, or would you rather us do, say, a weekday evening meeting to kick off the master plan? And it's May month that we'll work. We're thinking the first weekend in May, so it would be May 2nd and 3rd, I believe, if my memory serves me correct.
So, weekday evening versus a weekend? And who are these people going to be showing up for the
That's
committee people?
It will be. It's your first public event.
Oh, the first public event. Members?
If I got to vote, I would say Saturday.
Saturday.
Like a better turnout, Monday night or Tuesday night or whatever, after you've worked all day, people working and they're tired. You don't really want to go out Monday night.
Sure.
That'd be my guess.
What do we have
That's why I
going
said
on?
members, because I would have picked during the week myself, because
I think during the week would be better.
you have a lot of people that, that we only have Saturday and Sunday. For those that work Saturday, we only have Sunday.
Yeah, sure. I hear you.
And
that's another too, but-
and it's kind of, I'm not going to give up a Saturday for work to go to a meeting. So I think, but again, I'm trying to.
Do we have
Absolutely.
soccer and baseball, and so everybody is at the fields?
Those start in
Opening
April,
day.
and those are Saturday, yeah, but they're also weeknights as well. The only day that we don't have those events is, and even soccer is Sunday, but we don't have baseball on Sundays.
The good thing is with the sports, though, at least one of the parents could come to the meeting. The other one could go to a
Good, yeah.
soccer game or something.
Sure.
But again, I think an evening, because this is going to be multiple meetings.
Exactly. So as you
If
can see,
if we have start off with an evening, May's, all the buds are coming out, everybody's happy. You take somebody Saturday away, I think it's going to be a no-show.
we can always wait till June too. So that's an option. We just didn't want to be waiting too long. So really, it's just up to.
All right, now, you said this is going to take you 2 years.
Correct.
We're meeting in May. How much and how long to the end? Because time span is huge.
Goes quick, yeah.
We forget what happened 3 meetings ago, never mind a year and a half.
So what we'd.
In the public also.
Sure.
They're not going to remember what they said. So,
We typically use a 3-month window in between workshops. And the reason for that is because after each workshop, we develop a summary report of what happened, what was discussed, all the comments that were recorded. That usually takes a couple of weeks to produce as well as to approve. So that's one of those action items that the master plan committee will be responsible for. We'll present the summary report to them. They'll approve it. So it takes roughly 3 weeks to get that thing done. Then it's 2 months of sort of advertising for the next workshop, and then preparing for that workshop. So any 3-week or a 3-month window in between each one. So if you do your first workshop in May, we obviously don't want to be meeting in the summer because typically, summer vacations are just off the table. So they're
well, that's what I'm thinking. So if say we meet the first week of June, you're going to be in August, November. I think that kind of.
So we would do June potentially, and then take the summer off, meet in September, take another 3 months off, hit January, do that cycle, and carry you all the way through to the end of January.
And I might just suggest that they be recorded, like these meetings, and
Absolutely.
all of our meetings get put up on YouTube and on the Raynham Channel, so people can refresh their
Yeah,
memories.
I think they most likely they're going to be in here anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Not only would we ask that they be recorded, but we would put that recording onto the project webpage too,
Sure.
so people have easy access to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
How long do the workshops typically take?
2 hours. So we usually try to get people in at 10, get them out by 12. That way they get right to lunch.
Oh.
But we can do earlier.
10
from 9
at
to 11.
night to 12 at night, I thought.
No, 10 in the morning.
I said, holy cow.
So that's
These are
Saturday.
all-day planning board meetings.
Yeah, yeah. Now, in the evening sessions, what we would typically do is something around 6:30, 7 o'clock, what people are accustomed
Okay.
to. And then it's out by 9.
That might, you just mentioned something that maybe some of the meetings are on Saturdays and some are on the weekends, to accommodate everybody.
Yep.
You know?
All right, well, that sounds good to me. Anything else?
I mean, right now, what you need is just a vote from us to get the ball rolling.
Yep,
Just a-
that's what we're gonna do. Is there anything else you have?
The last item was just community events. So you in your contract have 3, we will come to 3 community events and basically hand out flyers, the promotional materials, spread the word about the plan. So if there are events that a lot of people go to throughout the calendar year, let us know what those are so that we can schedule them into our master schedule. Some communities have done Springtown meeting because a lot of people show up, so we'll have a table outside. We'll just simply hand people information, the comment cards, etc. In other towns, they have fall festivals, where a lot of folks.
We have a Raynham Pride Day in September.
Yeah, so that might be a good one.
Even though this isn't gonna be the picture, I would suggest that your photo would be maybe multiple pictures, the Raynham Library, the Town Hall, the Stone Church, multiple things, so people looking at it, like I looked at this and I'm saying, oh, that must be Quincy.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying? So if I look at it, I know it's the town of Raynham.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I
Chris
didn't
said
recognize the
Stone Forge, I
picture.
didn't-
Yeah, we don't have a center, so.
Yeah, so if we had multiple things, I just think, and again, I know that may not be the
We can do that.
photo, but
Figure it out.
just as we're doing our discussions and trying to get people to these meetings so they look at it and they can familiarize themselves with what they see.
Sure.
And again, I think if you look at the other master plan,
By the
and
way,
one last thing that I would suggest is that you always bring a master plan with you that you have completed, because people don't understand what a master plan is. And if you have it with you, and maybe a surrounding town, I'm sure you've worked on them, and just say, well, and just refer to the master plan, the current master plan. Here's ours, this is what we're looking to move forward with. This is the hopes for the town of Raynham, the future of the town of Raynham, and hopefully, through the planning board, the master plan can be viewed a little more. So-
If I may, I think it's 3 years ago now, you folks put together a pamphlet for us. I thought I had one in my briefcase, but I don't. You might
Yeah,
look
I
at that
think
in terms of what,
they're in there. I think it's in the shelf up there.
might look at the pictures that are there, so you may already have them on file.
John, our town planner at the time, put together a pamphlet to try to encourage businesses to come into town. We gave to the Economic Committee, they were passed around. I believe we had them in newspaper. He was looking around at other towns, what other towns were doing to invite people to Raynham, and so he worked with Serpent on that. And again, I think there was some of the covered.
Perfect.
All right, so is you done with that? Then I guess the first thing we're going to vote on is to make a motion that we support and recommend that the Serpent continue with their master plan committee selection. That's your first thing on your agenda.
So we got to ask the selectmen to pick the committee? Is that what we're voting for? Asking the selectmen to choose a committee? That's the motion?
Yes, because all these people are going to be.
And I'll second that, if that's the motion.
And second, for discussion, the planning board will have 2 members on that committee, and we will appoint and we'll vote on somebody after the election. So that was one, so,
I second.
yep, the motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The second part of that is going to be that we love your packet, questionnaire, trifold, and postcards. I would just go back to my statement about putting something on there that's a little more familiar. And you didn't print up hundreds of these, did you?
Be like the Geico commercial, you want me to do what?
Put on a draw till the next one. So make a motion that we give them the okay to move forward with the advertising. Oh,
You gotta put the pages down. Put your papers down. You're blacking out.
I didn't know where the camera was.
Seconded.
From there.
Second.
any discussion?
Yeah, just to go forward with this, but they're gonna come to us for final approval on the pictures, yes?
Everything is going to be coming back to the planning board after
That's all.
after it's vetted through the committee.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, very good. Hopefully we got you out of here in time to head to,
Busy night. Thank you so much.
all right, thank you. Appreciate you coming in tonight, so we didn't delay things. Okay. We have public hearing. That one's already, no, public hearing for Locust Street, that we don't have to read that one in. This is a continued.
All right.
So 1150, what is that number?
1051.
1051 Locust Street.
Make sure the master plan has a set of glasses for you.
Just out of curiosity, was that just Dan, you and Russ,
What's that?
when it opened last time?
I know Burke wasn't here. You weren't here last meeting either?
No.
Then that's what it was, just the three of us. So what does that mean? Just the three of us can talk about it? We don't have minutes for you guys to catch up with. I don't assume you've watched the video yet.
I did not watch the video.
Well, I would normally, in a case like this, I would refer to the expert, but she's not here. Chris's question, Dan, is as to whether or not it was just you and I and Russ who were here for the opening of that hearing. Can Burke and Chris participate in the continuation? And I don't know the answer to that.
Well, typically you're supposed to read up on what happened or be familiar with what happened, which you guys could probably take 5 minutes and bring us up to speed.
I read the minutes.
It's pretty simple.
Okay.
I can, we'll open it up, and then I will do a rundown of what they brought in and what we asked them to change. And then we had some neighbor input, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
So, state your name for the record.
Arthur Borden from Arthur Borden and Associates on behalf of Mr. Appleby, who's with me tonight.
Okay. And, all right, I will fill two members in that were not here. This plan was brought to the board as discussion probably over 6 months ago, came to us. And the discussion was that the applicant wanted to come in as a two-lot subdivision. I was questioning that, and Burke and Russ said that, in their opinion, it was a two-lot subdivision, so I agreed with their findings. We sent the applicant away. He went and designed a two-lot subdivision. We had there was a cancellation in the meeting. They were continued a couple of times for no fault of their own. So he came back in front of us 2 weeks ago and presented exactly what you see, except for the neighbor had came in, and the neighbor was to the southeast over here and was concerned about having the house facing directly into his backyard. We added arborvitaes along this stone wall. There's an existing stone wall here. We had them add arborvitaes because there is trees, and this is all treed, but like I had mentioned, there's a little riprap in here for the swale, so they're going to be cutting these trees, so that's why we had them add these. So we added these in. And I had asked him to show that on his green outline, that he does have room for his turnaround, because that wasn't on there, and he is showing that now, that he does have the room.
So last meeting was the first public hearing on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first, yeah, because the one before that was a discussion, and then we had continued.
And I think we asked, he changed the direction of the house.
And then he tilted the house a little more towards the driveway / the house that's in front. Again, this 125 by 125 box, as I mentioned to the neighbor, and the location of the house is not jurisdiction of the planning board, because that could change, but we did bring it up by adding the bushes, and we did ask the applicant to make a little combination, so they did tilt the house a little more.
Okay, that's simple enough.
Pretty much, that is that. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Nope.
Questions? Burke?
My big question is, do you have 150 feet?
Yes. Here is 150 feet.
Yeah.
And we did label it along
Burke.
setback line.
Bob, did you have anything? Nothing. Okay, so we did have neighbor input at the last meeting, so I would ask, is there any neighbors that see in the trees and the...
I don't have any input right now.
Okay. Then, I would-
Just one other thing
Yep.
that we got last week was this list of all the waivers. Do we need to talk about this, or is, I guess I look to Bob, is this all acceptable? There's quite a list
well, I'm going to
there.
entertain a motion, so you can, I guess, if you want to, can you read those? You don't have to go through every one, because as I mentioned last time, that this is a two-lot subdivision. We do refer to a driveway, because that's basically what you are building, is a driveway.
If it might be simpler, there's several waivers because it's not a roadway. They're kind of routine in something like this, but it's all outlined in a December 5th letter from Arthur Borden and Associates that lists all the waivers.
And we'll make that part of our,
Part of the
All those
simple waiver.
requested waivers are on the plan sheet also.
okay?
And it will remain a private way.
And it will remain a private way.
Yeah, and the waivers are on the cover sheet, sheet 1 of 4 on the plan.
Now, is there a, well, I guess we don't have, I was going to say landscape, there's no landscape, is there a landscape waiver? I just want to make sure that we just refer to these trees, so if somebody says, oh, they got a waiver for landscaping, I want to make sure that the arborvitae's will stay in there.
Oh, is it just 5 arborvitae's?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, because
Yeah,
there's
there's no,
nothing for
there's a
landscaping.
waiver for shade trees on the roadway, but that's different than landscaping.
Yeah, yeah, all right. So we'll make a motion with the, as to the plan. So whatever's on the plan is what we'll.
Yep.
Okay. You want to entertain a motion over there, someone?
Entertain a motion that we approve as an approval required under subdivision control law, definitive subdivision, 1051 Locust Street, Raynham, Mass., prepared for Kenneth Appleby, prepared by Arthur Borden, dated January 10th, 2020, revised through February 24th, 2020. Should we make a motion on the waiver separate, or just make it all part of the same?
No, we got to do the waivers separate.
Okay, so make a motion to approve the subdivision plan, as I just said.
All right, and when you read this, I'm sorry, I should have asked for a vote, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So, can we second that for discussion?
Sure.
All right, so
Second it.
motion was made and seconded for discussion. Can you go back to just the letter, so I can ask for a vote for the waivers first, and then we can...
Okay, so we'll basically table the sitting motion and make a motion to grant the waivers as listed in Arthur Borden's December 5th letter to the board, and also is shown on the sheet 1 of the definitive plan set.
And that's seconded.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor for the waivers? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Abstain, I guess, because I have no idea what.
sounds good. Abstaining. So we have 4 ayes and Russ is abstaining. Bring that motion back for the acceptance of the plan.
It's been seconded
Seconded.
already, so.
Any
just
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstaining again.
And Russ abstains.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir.
Go in peace.
You're taking all this.
I said Bob was going to take all these back. We can put them on the end here.
Now, I don't know if you want to,
My,
I don't see anything here to take care of. Other, like, there's some other business, my brother's actually,
no, we're done.
we're done with everything else. So,
There's a couple of significant things from Serpent, but I'll fill you in separately.
Okay, do you want to have a discussion with the gentleman from Locust Street before Chris leaves?
What gentleman? Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yeah. State your name for the record.
My name is Paul Cabrina. I reside at 436 Locust Street. For those of you that have been in town, it's the old Leonard Farm.
Yep.
I have a development that's going behind my home. It's built by Long-Built Homes. Came down here 2 weeks ago when I saw there was a house being built between what I thought was Lot 1, but apparently it was Lot 2. Saw them staking it out, came down and asked about it, went down to the planning department. She referred me to the plans, and I looked them up, page 34, Lot 1, looked at it, and asked, there's a house going on here, but how far off my property line is this going to be? She couldn't answer me, but told me that he had a special permit, which is called a open space preservation. So in this open space preservation, it states that the developer can cram the houses in accordingly to the plans or the plot or the landscape.
We call it clustering, not cram. Yeah, clustering.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, cram is not an official term.
I then saw that the foundation went in, and it was 17 feet off my property line. And looking at the printout that she gave me, I looked at section 14.5, went down to appendage C, which states, where possible, existing trees and vegetation shall be preserved and integrated into the landscape design plan to ensure visual privacy between structures, abutters, properties, and neighborhoods. I'd like to pass this out.
Where are you, in the peach orchard?
Yes.
Oh, this is all different.
Yes, it's all different. I'm sorry. It's all different. There's a lot to be printed out here. If there's any questions, I can answer anything.
Well, my first question is going to be, this subdivision went through over a year of being a cluster development. There's 2 permits that they would need. One would be a special permit, and then the other one would be subdivision. The subdivision itself was approved 96, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then it had some revisions, and so basically we had, the plan came back in front of us. We spent over a year back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And all of it would have been advertised, and the abutters would have had received
notices.
I didn't receive a notice that the property was going to be 17 feet off my property. And on the plans, it's 19 feet off the property. That's a house that's right on my property, that's towering over,
If you want to speak, you have to state your name for the record.
towering over my fence, the vinyl fence that I want removed.
You want the fence removed?
I want the vinyl fence
Is
removed.
it on your property?
It's, doesn't have to be on my property. Stating in this preservation, there's no man-made materials supposed to be put up. In this special permit, we have to follow this, I believe, right?
It's under, that's under the
Yes,
special
so-
permit.
So 14.5, Appendix C should be followed, right?
If you're reading it, so.
I have no tree line.
I don't have my glasses.
I have no privacy whatsoever. I come out to my house right now. I have a house that's 17 feet off my property line, and right now, they're on the first floor with 2 windows facing directly into my backyard. Tomorrow, when they come and pick up those walls and they put the crane up, I'm going to have 4 windows facing my property.
Now, that says where, I guess, I'm not sure the exact wording, but where at all possible.
I had trees in my backyard. I don't know if I can show you the befores and afters.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot
I'd
of.
like to see.
There was a lot of-
I want to make show that was a.
There was a lot
That was a wooded lot. That was all woods.
They took trees down on
Oh,
your
they took,
property?
not on my property, on their property. But I was supposed to be left a buffer and some privacy. I was left with nothing. I have a house that's 17 feet off my property line. I was never notified for 17, and on the lot, between Lot 1 and Lot 2, we have 40 feet between their properties.
Well, you wouldn't have been notified for the 17 feet. You would have been notified for the subdivision and the special permit. The location of the house that would be on the plans that are presented to the town, location is a location. It's not a location that's on the prints for grading and elevations.
That
Once
doesn't
the
explain
sub-
a house on my, abutting my property.
What's the required setback?
Anything but
And I'm sorry,
Okay.
but I want just to explain one thing. That house has been there for 200 years plus. I've been there for 21 of those years. 21 of those years. Not much, not that long, but I'm the last one so far. This is unacceptable. I accepted, I accept that you guys probably can't see everything, you're not appalled to everything. But 10 years ago, I put in a plan to put a front porch on my property. I had to go in front of the planning board. I had to notify everyone around me, including the water tank, that I was putting up a farmer's porch.
That would have been Board of Appeals,
Sure was.
not planning board.
No, it wasn't you, it was the zoning.
Right.
But-
300 foot you would notify.
I did what I was told to do. I followed the directions that I was told to do because I was too close to the street. The house is 200 plus years old. It's the first house ever built on that street. I went and did everything I was supposed to do. I thought I was all done. When I got home, I got the results. They were telling me I couldn't put a set of front stairs on my home. I came down, talked to Mr. Machado, great guy. Him and I, 7 o'clock downstairs, we worked it out. It's fine. It's done. This is what I went through 10 years ago. And now this is what I'm going through today.
If the Board of Appeals said no, you couldn't do it, Mr. Machado
I
had...
did hardscape. Mr. Machado knew his stuff.
Well, what it was is stairs don't apply to setback, so they probably incorrectly said, no, you can't put the stairs. And Dennis, reading the book, said stairs and chimneys don't apply.
Yes.
Right.
But now I walk out my yard, I have a house that's elevated with the second floor. The first floor is the second floor of lot number 1, with 2 windows facing me with 17 feet in between. So I'm being punished because the builder decided he needed 40 feet between lot number 1 and lot number 2 and took all the trees down. It states in that appendage, no trees should have been taken down. That's an open preservation permit. That's to preserve, not to cut tree line all the way up to my property line when there's no trees that needed to be cut. And now, I want to know what's going to be done about this.
Yes, Bob.
Dan, I spoke with Paul the other day in my office, and I do agree with Paul, it's a big change from what was there before. But as the board knows, and I tried to explain to Paul a little bit, the open space preservation allows you to build on a smaller lot, half the size of a normal lot, and it reduces your side setbacks. Unfortunately, that starts right behind his property. So where he lives, he needs 45 feet in the front, 20 sides, 20 rear, because in a standard residential A lot.
That's all irrelevant.
No, it's not.
Yes,
No,
it is.
no,
It's
not,
irrelevant.
because
Let
the
him
open
finish.
space community was accepted and approved by this board, and they got a special permit to build an open space community. Their lot sizes were reduced, their 20-foot setbacks were reduced to 10 foot, their 45 in the front was reduced to 20. In return for being able to do that, they have acres and acres of land around the perimeter of that subdivision, as you all know, that are in a restriction where they can't cut the trees down.
Why did they come behind my house?
Because it's on the lot that they're building on.
No, it's not. That lot has not been cut, all right? The only thing that was done to that lot, you'll see it. It's not excavated, it's not bulldozed, it's been cleaned out. The trees were cleaned out. That's it. That was all that was done there. I've been living there since it's happened. And I was wondering, why are they clearing it all the way up to my property line when I drive down the street and I see everyone else with a buffer?
That's not part of the preservation land, though, Paul.
It's not part, I'm an existing abutter.
We're not part of the...
I'm not part of this preservation. I don't belong to that. I didn't sign up for that.
Well,
I'm here because I was sure to protect it. This is what my problem is.
Well, the cluster development, the subdivision rules and regs, all these things are stated.
They don't apply to me.
No, they do. All of these things are stated from the state of Massachusetts. We adopt all these rules and these regs, and we abide by what we have in front of us. It's not a town issue. It's not a.
Where do you see what, I want you to explain to me right now. In town, anyone that has a house that's built 17 feet behind their property line that was never notified of this, I want you to explain that to me. What house in town? This is unprecedented.
There's nothing that.
It's like my house did not exist. It's like my house hasn't existed for 200 years. And now I'm facing 2 windows. How do we explain that? How do we explain that this house got built?
The only way to explain it, you're not going to like it, but you didn't own the land next door. Somebody bought it and they developed it.
Well,
that's the problem. Let me finish.
I look at every gable end.
Listen to me.
That I'm looking at. I don't have one window.
I said, let me finish, please. I didn't interrupt. Okay. So all we can do as a board is make sure that the plans.
And they're abiding by the plans.
And
they're not abiding it.
Can I finish?
You can.
Is making sure that they are abiding by the plans, and that's it. So I will look at the plans, and
how about the permit, the open preservation, section 14.5, appendage C? They're not abiding by that. They did not abide by that.
I said that they have to abide by the plans. The plans and the permit are all tied together.
Okay.
If it's a special permit that was approved, that's all attached to the plans. So
I should have been notified.
Okay.
And when I came down here, I should have been notified.
When you came down here?
2.5 weeks ago.
No, you shouldn't have been notified.
I should have been notified how far off that house was off my
No,
property.
that's not how it works.
No?
No, unfortunately, that's not how,
Okay.
when you get a building permit,
All right.
everybody that, your location of the house, when it comes to this board, the location of the house, like I stated, is on there. It's not set in stone, but it's on the prints.
Okay.
So for grading and
On
drainage.
the prints, it's 19 feet.
All right, so there's 17. And that's fine. They can
Okay.
flex it. Yes.
So, top of my property.
They have to be 10 feet.
They could have been 10 feet.
And it's 17
They're
feet.
supposed to leave me a buffer, a privacy buffer. I do not, I just read you guys up here, making sure there was arborvitae.
I don't see that in here. Let's find that. Where possible.
Appendix C, section 14.5.
14.5.C.
Appendix C.
Where possible.
Where possible.
Existing trees and vegetation shall be preserved.
Not possible?
Unfortunately, where possible is
Let's look at these plans. Let's
is
look at
not
the pictures.
an
Yeah, my-
exact.
That's the side of my house. That's the side. That's the
Yeah.
entrance of the street.
Uh-huh.
Okay, hold on. Let's see if this is possible. Do you think that was possible? Right there? That's the back of my house. That's the back fence. That's cleared all the way to my fence.
Uh-huh.
All right? That's the house that they're putting up. That's 17 feet. You don't think I could have had tree line? See that tree line? That extended all the way this way.
Okay,
Okay?
yep. So how many feet do you think they need to build a house to get around it?
I don't care how many feet they need to
Well-
build. But what I want to know how many feet that I should have had for privacy, so I'm not looking at this. And I was
You're
looking at
not
this. I'm looking at
guaranteed
this.
by law to have any feet.
Well, I'm sorry, sir, but in Appendix C, it does say that.
Where
I said, if you
possible,
want to
existing
speak,
trees
I
shall
will
be
let you
preserved.
speak. You have to raise your hand and state your name for the record and get up to the microphone.
Yeah, go ahead. Don't be bashful. You're just gonna tell us
You
your
want
name
to
for the
talk,
record, that's
state
all.
your name for the record, your address, and you can ask your question.
Teresa Cabrera, 436 Wilton Street.
Thank you.
This is my husband, and we want to know why we didn't have a buffer zone. That's basically the only reason why we're here is.
Privacy,
where's
it
the
says it
privacy?
right there. I could read it. Can I read it?
Yes.
I'll read
I
it
don't think
again.
a white vinyl fence that only goes up 6 feet is
Yeah, you wanna
considered
read
a
it?
natural
Buffer,
buffer,
white vinyl fence.
and there is no privacy, as you can see. So
Well,
what can we do about that
read
buffer
to
zone?
us which section.
Yeah, it says, when possible, existing trees and vegetation shall be preserved and integrated into the landscape
Oh, my Google.
design plan to ensure visual privacy between structures, abutting properties, which is us, and the neighborhood.
And how much room do they need to be able to get around each side of the house to build it?
The house should have been built.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how much
that's-
room they need. I just know that there's no buffer zone.
Well, they
There's no
think they need
privacy.
17 feet. Do I agree with them? Not necessarily.
Okay, so.
But it
can I
says
ask you-
where possible. It doesn't say you won't touch 10 feet exactly or 15 feet.
Okay, so the ensured visual privacy, that doesn't mean anything?
That doesn't mean anything?
To the abutting
What,
properties?
what,
They put up,
they're guaranteed
they put up a
privacy.
fence. That's,
Oh,
no, I understand.
Sir,
You're-
I'm sorry, but this is the fence. This is my house.
I understand that.
This is the, no, you have to look at this.
No, I don't have to look at it. I understand
This
that.
is the fence, this is my house. These are the two windows facing you right now. Tomorrow, there'll be 4 windows up here.
But-
So where's our privacy?
but
That's
in our-
basically the
in the
question.
bylaw, it doesn't
Where's
say-
the privacy?
Where does it say in the bylaw that you are guaranteed something? I don't know what you think you're guaranteed.
No, it doesn't say, nothing on here says there's a guarantee.
That's right.
why
So it's up
we're
to you
here.
just to take this
So
away
if-
from us?
Hold on, excuse me. But if there is, all these houses already built in there, a piece of land that could have been a buffer zone, but instead, they chose to build a house on there, and it's 17 feet from the property line.
Chris, do
all
you have
we
an
wanted-
any good
We can't have
explanation
a
to?
buffer.
I don't
I mean, the
believe
time to
that the
provide that
statute
would have been
fence
during
is
the
the buffer?
definitive
Is
subdivision
that-
hearing.
I guess you can call the fence a buffer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you call
But
a fence a
that's not
buffer?
an existing tree or vegetation.
On the planning board, do you guys call a fence a buffer? Do you call a fence a buffer, sir?
If that's,
A visual
there are
screening,
times
yes,
when
it's a
that's,
fence is a
that's the best
In
we
this
can do.
case, in my case, do you call this fence a buffer? To
I
what
I
I've
know
had
when
tree
a house
lines.
gets built, they need to clear space around it to build the house. They can't clear 1 foot to the side of the foundation. They've got to get
And
trucks
they can-
around,
and
they've
they
got
can
to,
face windows towards my property? That's okay too?
it's their
Yes, it
land,
is
they can
okay.
build a house on it.
They can put windows on every side.
What are you guys up here
So
for?
what does this stand for?
You gotta
Like,
calm
why-
down.
why
Bob,
don't we
yeah,
have
Bob, you,
a buffer, a
did
natural
you have,
buffer?
did you have something to say about?
Yeah, if I could.
Okay, so we have to go to the Plan B.
So what I would suggest is I would invite all the board members to take a ride by there and take a look and see what he's trying to explain in his pictures. There is no violation for zoning. The developer does meet all the zoning requirements in this special permit. However, we do have another section in our zoning that requires a 50-foot buffer when you have a business to a residential. This is a little, there was a tree line there, just like the rest of the lots in the subdivision. The building area and the grading area was totally clear cut. Okay, and this is one of the problems I think they had. They had some trees there. Those trees all went away, even though they weren't on their property. They were on their abutting property. It did offer them some kind of a visual buffer to the rest of the subdivision. In the subdivision, though, in the cluster subdivision, because they're allowed to do 10-foot setbacks, you'll see other lots where you have houses that are actually 20, 21 feet away from each other. So they're very, very tight. They're very, very close, as you know, and you've been through the property. My suggestion is so that we keep cool head, whether we go back to the developer and ask him to supply some more buffer or some more plantings. That will be up to you. My suggestion is, though, to continue this conversation after you've had a chance to take a look and see how that lot is being developed.
Well, I thought I was being very open and upfront with you and doing the best I could for you by saying that I would check the plans first. If we don't check the plans to make sure that what was approved, they have a certificate of action, to make sure the certificate of action is being followed. If everything is being followed, then we can ask. We can't
So
force them.
that house is a legal building?
That house that has nothing to do with this board. That house, the location of the house has nothing to do with this board.
One other thing I just want to mention.
What does it have to do with, I'm sorry, sir?
The subdivision, the layout of the subdivision, that's our role, that's our responsibility, is making sure that the safety inside of the subdivision, the streets and the drainage,
Just to save, yeah, okay.
that the water's not overflowing on their property.
Gotcha.
If you had a flood in your backyard, that's something we could get involved with.
So who do I talk to about this building being erected, which I wasn't notified for?
So the notification process, Mr. Chairman, as far as building the house, there is no notification process. The notification process, Paul, was given to you. Maybe you got it, maybe you didn't, but that was 4 years ago when the subdivision was approved through the special permit process. When that lot was created, that's when the only notification that the abutters would get was when that subdivision was approved and those lots were created. As far as the lots being built upon, there is no notification process when the building permits are applied for.
Plan B.
Okay, then. Very good. Thank you.
for your time.
All right.
Yeah, I need my attorney, please. Thank you. You got them all?
You,
Another thing, I strongly suggest that you take Bob's advice and come by.
I've been there several times.
Pull in the driveway, take a look.
Yeah, but just remember, we're not in the subdivision.
I'm not in the
We belong
subdivision.
that development.
I don't belong there. I've been there for 21 years,
Okay, one of the, if I may, before you run off.
before you see it on Facebook.
If we talk,
you mean?
what, before what?
See it on Facebook?
No, whether you put it on Facebook or not,
No, I don't
really care at this point. But if we talk to Lee,
I think I've found, at least in the 5 years that I've been here, he's a reasonable guy.
Well,
You
can
know,
I interrupt
maybe-
you? Can I interrupt you
No,
there?
you can't. Okay, I didn't interrupt you when you
Okay.
were talking.
Go ahead.
But if you talk to him, he might be willing to put some trees back there to add to the buffer.
As I
Do you want to
said,
hear
Now
my-
you got something to say. Go ahead.
Let me tell you the stories.
all right, wait, I have another hearing
Okay.
that's scheduled right
Well,
after you.
this is pertaining to bushes and trees
In Lee.
in Lee. I went to vacation. On vacation, I came back. I had a vinyl fence around my house. Nobody said anything. Just put the vinyl fence.
He didn't have to, sir.
Didn't have to.
That's what you're missing. He didn't have to.
That's
He's
fine.
done everything that he's
That's
has
fine.
to do.
But he didn't have to cut my trees down too.
But they weren't.
He replaced them.
No, he came
Oh,
back.
they were my trees on my land.
They were my trees.
I asked you that question earlier.
You said
Yes,
There are
he,
trees on
well,
your
no, because he
land.
replaced them. That's been solved. That's been resolved. He came in, he planted the 2 trees. But I did call him and asked him politely about that. You know what he told me? Oh, good luck. Go ahead. Good luck. Boom! And slammed the phone on my face. That's the kind of reason. That's the reason I got from him. Thank you, sir. Thank you for all your time.
All right, thank you.
Just before we go, do you guys, I'm sure, keep your about notifications?
Yeah, we have.
He had a copy of it in the folder there. He was looking at it.
No, he had it.
So he's
Yeah, he did.
he's probably been notified.
No, she showed him.
Yeah.
In her folder.
Yeah, he was expecting a notification that the house was going to be 17 feet away, and there's no notification for that.
But that would have been the time to ask for a buffer strip.
Higher than the fence.
Story is 20
I mean, the
feet.
wording, unfortunately, I don't know what you can do about it, is where possible.
Yeah.
Well, we're in the process of redoing regs, so that's something we're going to look at. Something we can look
But I
at.
bet they would have been notified.
Yeah, they got notified. Yeah, she had the copy of it. She showed it to him. Well, maybe we have
that in the file.
Accused myself because the ugly brother.
I said,
Okay, public hearing, 17.
1729 Broadway.
1729 Broadway. Step right up, state your name for the record.
Get a better view, because I know it's not going up.
Are you the neighbor?
Yes.
Moving up from the cheap seats, huh?
Yeah, well, we're good.
Were you notified?
Yes. You'll be doing it at 6:10, right on time.
It's not a perfect word. At these
No,
meetings.
and I saw the postwoman go to all the houses. I was outside and she did certify everybody.
Okay, so we have this piece of property. We have a notice to read, public hearing notice.
In accordance with provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 48 and Article 13 of Raynham zoning bylaws, the Raynham Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, March 5th, 2020 at 6:10 p.m. at Raynham Veterans Memorial Town Hall, 558 South Main Street, on application for site plan approval submitted by Sean Cairns, SKC Properties LLC. Applicant proposes to construct a 7,000 square foot warehouse building with associated parking, utilities, clearing, grading, and landscaping on 1.14 acres of property located at 1729 Broadway, Assessors Map 3, Lot 71, Raynham, Mass. Copy of application and plan are available for viewing at the Town Clerk's office and Planning Board office, 558 South Main Street, during usual scheduled business hours. Any person wishing to be heard or interested in the submittal should appear at the time and place designated. Raynham Planning Board, Daniel.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Okay, state your name for the record. You have your cards?
It's Frank Gallagher Engineering in Foxborough, and the owner and applicant, Sean Carnes.
Where are you? What's Great American Pub and Dunkin' Donuts and all that?
Great American Pub is directly across the street.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
This shows Broadway. The locus is here. The Dunkin' Donuts is right here. And the Great American Pub's right directly across the street.
What's on the piece of land now, your piece of land?
It's vacant at the moment.
It was a
freight.
Was it Freights? Yeah, a long time ago, there was a restaurant there.
Town was a breakfast, it's called The Egg, I think.
There's some existing asphalt
There
from
is.
what the parking lot used to be?
Yeah, if you look, this is the existing condition plan. It's just over an acre of land, 200 feet of frontage, and 250 feet deep. This dashed line represents just an old broken up pavement area.
Okay.
This is brush and kind of scrubby, low brush. And then there's a wood line that goes like this. So it's kind of, the cover out there is kind of a combination. And where the old building was or any of that, I don't know. But I did pick up the edge of the old pavement. There were two access points to Broadway. And
Have you filed with Mass Highway for curb cuts?
we haven't yet.
But
We'll have to. But Mass Highway, they won't really allow you to file until you
Once
have
the plan was done.
local approval. So this is, this is the existing site. It's pretty level, but if you look at the contours, 128, 126, 124, so it all grades, you know, kind of from, I guess it would be northeast down toward southwest and on to Route 138. And there's a drainage structure here. I've got it shown as a catch basin. It's not really a catch basin. It's a concrete structure that doesn't have a sump, but it does have a concrete pipe that comes out in this direction. And then there's sort of a paved apron on both sides that lead down to it. So this site pretty much all drains to Broadway and then into that existing.
Can I ask a question?
structure.
What's this strip here?
That's the abutting property, which is owned here. This is Sean Carnes as well. It's a narrow frontage, but then it widens out
How wide is the frontage?
50 feet.
It was set like that, or did you change?
No, that's...
That was always 50 feet?
Yeah. Well, there's a Form A plan, and I could get it out of the folder for you. It's slightly more than 50 feet.
My only reason why I'm asking is because Dunkin' Donuts is right here,
Yeah.
and we all know how high Dunkin' Donuts
Yeah.
had to get elevated, and that was kind of like after the fact, something happened. I'm just wondering, we're not talking about this piece,
No.
because if anything goes on here, I don't know what the elevation difference is gonna be, if there's an issue there or what. All right, just so we're understood, that this is what we're looking at.
Separate lots.
You have to raise your hand,
Is that 3 separate lots?
and I will get to you as soon as when it's your turn, I will.
We have a couple of neighbors here. Where are they on this?
I don't know.
I'm on the back.
Looks like it's your turn, so state your name for the record.
255 Robinson Street, Rich Lincoln, Tracy Lincoln. And I'm abutting the backside of that.
Okay, so Robinson Street is here.
Yep.
And so you're probably not actually abutting this
Not
this
that property, but that's why I asked if there was 3
You're-
different lots.
This piece actually would be between you, wherever you are here. I'm not sure which house you would be. But actually, this property.
So it's the back piece of property.
Right.
This 50 feet along with that back piece is what you're abutting.
That's right here.
So there's.
Where's the zoning line?
The zoning line is right
A
here.
dotted line.
Okay.
The property line?
Yep,
So you've got that back piece that you can't use for commercial anyway.
right.
Right.
Okay?
Wait.
So the back is residential,
Yep.
and
Are you going to try to get a variance to put one house back there, or
I could do a retreat lot, it's 50 feet.
at 50
Yeah,
feet, so you can do a
probably
retreat lot anyway?
It could be done as a special permit and a state.
Although,
law.
can you cross from business to residential?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
It's a lot.
this board said no on other cases. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'll wait until it's my turn.
Oh, no, it was your turn.
Yeah, you had your chance.
You had your chance, you're
Go
over.
ahead. If you're going to stay, go up to the mic.
Well, my question is this.
Excuse me, if you go to the mic, they can hear you all over town. You sit there, then only we're going to hear you.
Sure. So, where you're putting the location is right next to a garage that just went up probably about 4 years ago, is that correct?
I think you're.
It's to the left of
you're
that
probably-
design?
Yeah, you're talking
So
about
it's
this
on the other side of where Dunkin' Donuts is. So when they came in, they put in that building, they said, we're gonna put a garage in. And I had no problem with the garage. Well, a year later, that garage turned into a recycling plant behind my house. And now I can see it visually from my house.
Now,
I'm worried that, yeah, there's another lot
now if
there
that,
that's
if they have a
separated.
recycling plant back here, and it's on residential,
They stopped using it, I put an end to it. All they're doing is parking on it now.
That's not true. Every morning at 7 o'clock, those cranes go up, they grab things, go around, they drop things. I hear it every morning.
Make a good
No way
video.
that can be true. I can show you a recent picture of their whole facility, the way it
Okay.
looks.
That's another issue.
But I'm worried about that happening again.
all right,
Yeah.
but wait, slow down. Take a deep breath. What is in front of us does not abut your property. So if he does anything on the next piece, he's gonna have to come back in front of us unless he does a retreat lot We do have a bylaw, but if anything, he would possibly be able to get one house, or I don't know how much land's back there, so I don't want to just say one. He may be able to put in a private road and get 3 houses. I don't know. I don't know how big it is. If it's residential, that's his option of getting residential homes. Business, from this piece of property with what they are representing to us, you will not have any business activity at all beyond that line.
Let me
Period.
Let me present so that you can see.
Yeah,
They told me to come up here. I was waiting.
yeah. So now that you know, you'll see. This, the property that abuts you is not is not in front of us for discussion.
Right.
It's residential. He can't do anything business.
He could clear it out and do whatever he wants
He can
with
do
it.
whatever he wants with it, clearing it.
Right.
He can, anything that he can do in residential. He can have a landscape tree farm back there if he wants. Sell mulch.
For me, honestly, our only problem is that we said okay to.
Yeah, no, that would be a problem, and it sounds like Mr. Ifredi is working on some issues over there. So, if that's an issue, then zoning enforcement officer, you have his number. Have you ever called him?
We didn't know what to do.
No, they
Okay,
told
so
us
now,
no-
Check it out.
noise disruption.
all right, so between the police and Mr. Ifredi, he's the
We
zoning.
called one time.
Okay. All right, so that's anything happening back there's a no-no, so you have the right to complain. Okay.
Are you done, Frank? By the way, Frank, we've missed you. You haven't been around for a few months.
Now, we don't have Judith Nitch's comment letter, and you haven't received a comment letter. So let's just keep this to an overall, because once we get into the nitty-gritty, and when I say overall, get into the nitty-gritty, that's only drainage, that still has nothing to do with, he's bound to this lot. He is hundreds of feet away from you. And you're on Robinson Street. You might be in my grandmother and grandfather's old house. I used to walk through the woods and go get ice cream
Walk
here.
right through the woods.
Yeah. I used to walk right through here.
Rogan?
Cravino. It was a green raised ranch. I used to come out the back and go right and get ice cream. So I know it's pretty close, and I'm sure that you can actually see if there's activity going back there. All right, Mr. Gallagher, go right ahead.
So what we've got is a 7,000 square foot warehouse building, 70 by 100. It's going to be divided into 4 sections, and there are garage doors for entrance from the rear. There are 2 regular, single door entrances in the front. A 7,000 square foot building requires 14 spaces. We have 14. We have water and sewer on the site. We're conforming as far as the large zoning issues. So we conform with the building setbacks. We conform with the parking that's provided. We conform to the open space requirements that are provided. We need 25% open space. We have almost 47%. We are asking for some relief from some of the site plan regulations, but at least as far as the bigger zoning issues, we're in compliance.
Do you have a picture of the building?
We do.
You say you've got 4 doors at the back, but only 2 at the front. So this isn't going to have 4 tenants.
I think it could. There's a possibility of 4 tenants, but I think Sean is not planning to lease out all of it. I think 50% of it will be. So Sean will keep half of it and then lease two of the spaces. So this is the rear of the building. You can see the 4 garage doors, and then this is the front. This is the front.
All right, so I think, sitting here for 18 years, we are always learning. And if we don't make adjustments as we go, then that's our fault. I think as we saw tonight, we might have a something to look at in our cluster developments. So now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, so here's our business piece. We have a square. If we don't look at a tree line back here that separates residential from business today, we're not ever going to be able to look at this because he's not going to come in front of us. We're not going to protect, we don't need to protect residential from business, but we need to protect business. Even though it's an empty lot, I almost think that's something that we're going to have to start looking at. If it comes in front of us and it butts residential and it's never going to, and can never be business, nobody's going to change that to business. So I think you're going to have to address trees, some type of a buffer. On your gray outlook, your outline that you just showed, there was quite a bit of land back there left over. So I would say within, that 25 feet, or this is business to residential, so 50 feet from that line, you're going to have to do something for
The
landscaping.
The picture you have here, the lower left picture. No, lower left. Yeah. Now,
Shows a fence.
Yeah, but look at the other side. Look at all those trees. There's a forest over there. There's a Dunkin' Donuts there.
Yeah. I didn't do these. This was this is an architect's rendering. But, I know what you mean. It's
And you
not
didn't
true.
drink coffee.
That is Sean's truck there.
All right, well, what brings that up is there's an opening in the gate right here. See this gate?
Yeah.
There's an opening here. So that means the rest of this business back here, and if Advanced Lawn Care, he's going to have mulch, wood chips. He may do plowing and sanding in the wintertime to stay busy. He's going to have bins back here with sand and salt, and may have stone, pea stone. There's going to be a lot going on back there. And if he doesn't, then he's not very busy, because you're going to have all that stuff. I had it all, and I didn't have any restrictions, and I had my neighbor complaining. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going out there with my front end loader, loading the trucks for sand, and I'm not thinking, obviously they're going to be mad at me. So
are you suggesting that we have a 50-foot buffer?
I suggesting you have a 50-foot buffer.
I think you have to anyway, don't you, Bob?
Well,
I think only if there's an existing residential use.
It doesn't have to be on the lot. I mean, you could designate a buffer, some of that buffer on the residential zone if it's tree. But when you have a business lot, which only requires 30,000 square feet, that's already a pretty small lot compared to a required 40,000 square foot for a residential home. So if you take 50 feet away, on 30,000 square foot lot, you really handcuff the developer to do anything there. So I think you can make some adjustment depending on the location and what's out on the field.
well, again, years ago, they increased the lot size to 40,000 because they selectmen wanted to have less housing back in the day. And we know how that worked out. This here could have, I'm saying that there's a 50-foot from residential. You can come back and propose something, but I'm going to recommend that this gets screening today. Once this building goes up, this has to get done. Even if you own that will have to get done. So if you do come in with a 3-lot subdivision or a little cluster development, then we're not, how can we have screening from residential to business? I mean, it's for what?
I think you probably can see this dashed line, we're proposing this all to be dense graded stone surface with, and landscaping materials.
Right.
And then we have a 20-foot buffer now. So you're saying that you would want 50 feet?
I'm only saying that's what the bylaw says.
Yeah.
And yes, it's to an existing residential. If it's an existing residential, it's 50. I'm asking you to come back with some suggestions that's going to have to get trees, arborvitaes, a mound, something. I'm leaving it up to you because there's no building, there's no residential houses there. So we can tell you, no, you don't need anything. But I think, as we just experienced tonight, these are the issues that could further come down the line. The guy owns a piece of property that's residential. He's not just going to sit on it.
it's going to do something with it. So I guess we look at it with common sense and say, okay, he's a landscaper. Put a row of arborvitaes, make a mound, make it something, and then if somebody builds a house in that field and they call zoning enforcement officer, hey, it's already protected. We're not addressing it, down the road. Nice little mound, 20 feet. If you got 20 feet with a little mound and some plantings, that would be great. And then you're done. Not spreaders. Some trees, some nice arborvitaes.
Bulldozer. Constantly moving things around in the morning.
All right?
Yeah.
So what else you got? I know you said you got some waivers. You're going to be looking for some waivers. As soon as we get to Judith Nitch's report, we'll go through. Unless you, how many waivers do you have? Do you want to just throw them out there?
Yeah, I could. I think there were about 5.
Are they on the plan?
No, I submitted a letter with the application.
I'm filling in for the secretary tonight, and I'm not very secretarial. Nobody calls me Girl Friday. Tell my sister that all the time. She gets mad at me. So yeah, just read those off.
Okay. Section 4.21 asks for a photometric plan that includes the location of all proposed lighting and all of that.
And you're not going to provide a photometric plan?
Well, we're showing the lighting.
Then don't ask for the...
Right. We're just
all
not
you have to
showing
do.
A photometric plan would be the halos and the...
Yeah, but this is business. You can, why even bother? You can go to the light and electrical store, they'll do it for nothing. They do an overlay plan, so the zero casting beyond your property line. It doesn't cost you anything. Your electrician can get it for you. So,
okay.
Why don't you do that, and then there's one issue out of the way.
Next one is a traffic impact study.
Yeah, whatever. Keep going.
And then the next section is
They're going to cover that in the new master plan.
5.15, and it says that it requires 1 tree to be provided within the paved area for every 8 parking spaces provided.
So,
I don't
you don't even have to say anything. You can just say period.
Yeah.
Because we'll take all our trees back here.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking for myself, but I think Burke, Russ, John.
Absolutely.
You swap those trees and put them back there. So what's the next one?
The detention basin, the requirement is for 3-to-1 side slopes. We're asking for 2-to-1. This is the detention infiltration basin here.
How wide is that?
Let's see. Across the bottom, it narrows a little bit, so it goes from about 7 feet, this is just the bottom dimension, 7 to about 12. If you look overall at the widest part, it's about 28 feet in the rear, and it's about 24 feet in the front.
My concern, you have that right very visible from the road, and the problem, 2-to-1, if some trash or anything gets in there, it stays in there. On something that, it's gonna stay in there, so I would think, and again, I'm gonna wait for my comment until I see what Nitch says, but I would look at maybe some type of maintenance plan, something that there has to be something attached to it. We can't just give that waiver because we like you.
Understood. And then, and along with this, we have guardrail, and we have guardrail here. Now, the next one was, it's section 5.4 says that this section prohibits parking between the proposed building and the street layout.
We're going to ask you about bollards.
We've got them on the plan. We're asking, of course, to put most of our parking in the front of the building, which is between the building and
Well, and that's going to be one of those, we should be writing some of these things down, Bob. Bob, that's one of those things that comes up all the time.
We're gonna get rid of that.
It's kind of foolish.
Yeah.
You're gonna, I presume, have one way around the building?
No, I have two-way traffic around. I mean, it's wide enough to allow for two-way traffic.
Okay. What, the sides of the building? No windows, no doors?
Let me just see the sides.
High windows.
Yeah, they have, well, yeah, a few windows.
Yeah, I trust that rendering.
Dunkin' Donuts, trash compactor.
Architect.
Okay.
And then, so that's, parking between the building. The next thing is that it says curbing shall not be bituminous concrete. What we're proposing is vertical granite curbing at the entrance, and then we're asking that we be allowed to put Cape Cod berm around the rest of the perimeter.
That's another one of the things this is private, it's never going to be town-owned. We've been letting those go.
Where are you gonna put snow?
Right through the gate.
Yeah. Well, we haven't shown a snow storage area. We can show one if you want.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Dumpster?
Dumpster? Yeah, there's a
That's
dumpster here.
dumpster there? Okay.
And then we have, as I said, Cape Cod berm, but we have a break in it here so that, you can
I would,
access.
and I'm gonna put this out there. I would suggest, and you can talk to your applicant,
Yep, I'm sorry.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yep.
I would suggest that you talk to him if he is going to have bins back here, salt, stone, mulch, sand, that put them on the plan today. If you don't, if you get your approval, this is business. That's why, that's what we do. That's what the planning board does. Do it now.
Yeah.
And then there's not going to be, we're going to look at it, we're going to say, okay, put screening over here, add some bushes here, do this, do that. Instead of just somebody calling up zoning enforcement officer and leaving it up to him because, okay, well, that wasn't on the plan.
All right. No.
So those are the things that you're going to want.
Yep.
When UConn came in, they had their back was set for another building. And they said, well, we're not going to do the other building, but that's where we're going to store our stuff. So this is similar type thing. I would show it on your plan. You can show your snow removal, you can put your bins back there.
Okay.
And you have nothing to worry about on both sides of here.
Right.
Except this side where it's residential, where it's potential residential going in. But I saw you, according to the picture, you have a black laced fence weaved into the fencing, so I don't know if that's going to be...
That's next to the forest.
I don't know if that's going to be... It would be nice because you don't want people driving into a subdivision looking at a detention area.
How big is that piece back there? You don't have to give me exact, but...
Looks like it's got 2 acres. Yeah.
Okay.
So can you get 2 houses, I would think? 1 house?
Well, depends how he presents it.
Yeah.
One retreat lot.
If it's 2 acres, I mean, if you're gonna set aside, whether it's a private road or a public proposed, that's gonna chew up a certain amount of the property, and it's gonna have to get out sort of substantially into this property just to create the frontages that are required. And so if it's just 2 acres and you're gonna lose that much in a roadway layout, you may not get
It's 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, even if it's just 1, it's up to us to we know one's coming, so.
And then the only other 2 are just a couple things. 572 says that it requires the width of the access connection to the existing roadway not exceed 25 feet at the property line. We're proposing 28 feet. Well, it's actually more than that at the property line. At the most narrow point, it's 28.
As required by the fire department, one of the other rule changes that we're going to implement when we do the rules and regs over, I actually asked them to make that change because the fire department needs more room. 24 feet is too small for their biggest piece of equipment.
Now, are you sure that's what that is referring to?
I'm not sure.
I believe it's from here. I believe it's the coming out from the property line here to here, because we had the same thing with McDonald's. We had to give them a waiver when we redesigned their parking lot, kind of for them, when the new guy came in. And we had to give them a waiver of the 45 feet from that intersection. And it worked out so much better.
Maybe. I mean,
let's see what Nitch
that's not
says.
the way I read it.
Well, let's see what Nitch says.
What is your frontage here?
200.
200-foot frontage?
From here.
Where is the driveway for the building? Oh, yes, on that side.
Over here.
North side, I guess it is, yes.
It's off.
Yeah, he's further
the page.
Okay.
I guess if you want to know how bad you shake, just hold the laser pointer.
I know.
You've got an exit for Dunkin' Donuts, and then you're going to have an exit for residential, and, okay. All right, I guess things aren't too close to each other.
No, they're not, but, you know, can you bump this, can this go back? You're right on the, see your swale here? Mr. Gallagher? See your swale?
Yes.
See your property line?
Yeah.
You're right to the property line. I would, again, let's look down the road, put a driveway, put some type of a turn here. Is this going to be interfering with this driveway here? We used to complain about telephone poles being in the way, never mind a fence. You're right to your property line. I don't know if you want to back that up some. You've got room back here.
That is his low point, though.
No, well, I'm only bringing it up for,
Yeah.
it seems like we have to look at everything.
Yeah, the way this is designed, it actually holds almost all the stormwater.
It's only a
for
suggestion.
a storm event.
If you come back in front of us for a retreat lot and you don't have, this person has to stick his nose out here, we won't give you the special permit.
Yeah, how, edge of pavement to lot line is approximately how much? And DOT is talking about doing work on Broadway. Are they doing it up here or just?
Yeah, I've got the plans from Mass Highway for what they intend to do here. It's, they do these 25% complete plans and then 75%.
Well, so will they be widening the road or putting in a?
Burke, if I may interrupt you, and that was one of the things I was going to cover later. At the last Serpent meeting, they've now determined that in the TIP plan they have more money than they anticipated. So they want to go back to the original plan. Instead of stopping the rework up to the 495 overpass, they want to go all the way up to the eastern line now. However, doing that pushes the date out to 2022. The back date, but right now we're working at 2021 date. The project leaders for this project are trying to convince Mass not to do that, not to go back to the original plan, because obviously if you push us out a year, everything that was behind us is going to go out a year and so forth. So it's a tumbling type effect. So, but right now the plan is to go all the way up to the eastern line. So
you know how many times you've given us new updates on that?
I know. I mean, that's what they tell me all the time. So, right. But like to Burke's question, if they continue like the current plan is to 495, they're going to put sidewalks on both sides, and they're going to put a bike lane on both sides. So yes, they're going to widen the road. There's no question.
Yeah, but they have to stay within their ownership. They're not going to do a land taking.
Well, by the way, that's why they're moving it to 2022, because they said there were restrictions, more land takings, because they won't have enough room for the sidewalks and 2 bike lanes. 2 sidewalks, 2 bike lanes. That's a lot of space.
It sure is.
I mean that's going to put you to the front door of the gap. Easily. Think about how close the gap is.
I've been saying for 10 years that the setback should be increased on Broadway, because someday that road's getting widened.
Well, the plans they have right now, they're 25% plans, which I have. call for a sidewalk, and they're widening it slightly, not more than 2 or 3 feet. But they are adding a sidewalk.
And a bike lane?
I'm not sure, I didn't notice.
It's the law, any state highway's got to have a bike lane.
Any
So
state-funded
probably then,
project,
maybe
we had the
that's
guy in
why
front of
it's
us, and I
being
said,
widened, but,
Yeah.
when they did the bike lane over here, and all of a sudden it stops, what, are they gonna helicopter somebody out? Or are they gonna get
Well,
killed?
that's what Marie brought up when they did up to 495. What happens after 495 for the bike lane?
All right, so that's a suggestion. Look at this being right here. I'm more concerned about you coming in for a retreat lot and this guy can't see coming out. You have a fence all the way to your property line, you get your drainage right to your property line. Look at moving that back some 5 feet away.
Talking property lines, where are your telephone poles?
Here, 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 here. That's an overhead line that runs right down the road. But you know, this detention basin is actually dug into the ground, so that won't obstruct.
It's not covered?
Sight distance.
I mean, it's not stuck in the ground,
Yeah.
but you have a fence all the way to the corner.
Well, a guardrail. I have a guardrail just around
Right
this
here.
front.
See this here? Isn't that a fence?
No,
That's not a fence?
no.
Well, your pictures show a fence.
Oh, the rendering.
So I'm looking at this dark line as the fence. I'm sorry.
No.
Hey, can we have that architect come in here and explain to us?
All right. No wonder you didn't want to show us. Okay.
So then, there's one more, and again, I may have not interpreted this right, but it says, 573 says that it requires an access connection shall be provided a minimum distance of 40 feet from a property line to the beginning of any parking area.
Now, that's the one that that's the one I think that has to do with here.
All right, well,
I'm pretty
That's-
sure, because you'll
okay.
work that with niche.
All right. And, you know, I guess that's it for what we're asking for waivers.
When you do the lighting, you can take the lighting one off there. You can just go to electrical store, they'll give you the plan, tell them you want a 0 overcast on the property line.
Okay.
They give you the plan, they give you the specs for the lights.
Okay.
You attach those to your packet, and you're done. And it's
But I wouldn't think you need much lighting anyway. There's not going to be
Well, he's
any,
got to, again, you know, he's a landscaper, so he does some, I would assume, snow removal and stuff like that, so he's going to need something back here for, you know, loading equipment to it. or 3.
yeah, but it's not going to have the general public there at night.
No, but if he's planning on putting lights back here, then this is residential, we're going to say put a shield on it, so it's not going past your property line.
Right.
That's where I'm getting.
Well, I just wondered mostly wall packs or...
Yeah, we've got, right now, we've got a note that says we're proposing wall packs. And we have 3 of them across the front of the building, 3 shown on the rear, and then 2 midway down the sides of the building. Wall packs is what we're calling for. And we put a note that essentially repeats what's in the site plan regulations as far as how to restrict that lighting.
Yeah, but again, you can provide a plan, it's no cost, it's not a big deal.
All right.
It's attached to the plan, you don't have to ask for the waiver, it's one less.
We'll do that.
All right, anything else? Questions now that you heard the whole project?
Not really.
Yes, Bob?
Sean, Frank, and I had a meeting in my office a couple weeks ago talking about this. I just had a couple of questions through you to Frank. One of the biggest things we talked about is the changing the traffic flow. When you first brought that first plan, you were directing people around the building in one-way traffic flow. That's all been changed, right?
Yeah.
My concern was Sean has a lot of people that work for him that got to go in and out. Originally, they had to navigate all the way around the right side of the building. And I thought, even if they widen the pavement on the left side, that could be a straight shot for his employees back and forth. Eventually, he'll have tenants and he'll be traversing across the tenant space. So that's been taken care of. We need to see something on signage, on where it's going to be on the building, what it's going to look like, and where it's going to be in the paved area.
Okay.
I mean, in the grass area, and what kind of pediment is going to be used for a sign there. So you can work on that for the next meeting.
Okay. I just showed where a sign would be, but I didn't show any more detail on it.
Okay. up to the board. You want to see detail on the sign, or is it?
He's going, they have to go to you for the sign anyway.
Downspouts, are they going to be infiltrated?
I hadn't, no.
I would. It's all blacktop.
Yeah.
You got walkways here, and if you're gonna park in the front, people are gonna be walking here. Where's the, water's only gonna come this way? Well, everything's pitching this way, you said.
Right.
So,
Oh, gonna be ice.
all you gotta do is put an underground drainage pipe and go right into your thing, can't you? Although you'll have to go into it.
We could just pipe it directly into the basin. Were you suggesting put it into the ground? Or?
Either an infiltrator or dump it into the basin.
I'd just assume, run them underground.
It'll never clog if you go right into the basin.
And that's an infiltration basin as it is. And I've accounted for that impervious areas.
I'd go right into the,
So
you don't have to
pipe them
worry about
straight
maintenance
into
or
the-
cleaning.
Last question, what's the depth of the basin from the top of the berm to the bottom?
4. I think it's 4 feet from top to bottom.
And the bottom of the basin is grass or stone?
Grass. I've got a couple of stone riprap pads where the pipes come in just to knock down the stormwater velocity. But then I'm figuring that it was just going to be loam and
Suggestion,
seeded.
I'll talk to Nietzsche about it, maybe a foot of 6-inch minus stone at the bottom to reduce the depth of that basin.
Yeah, instead of being, especially if we entertain a 2-to-1 slope.
It'll reduce the depth, yeah.
Even 10 inches of stone, you can bring that up a little bit, and then you got less of an issue.
Okay.
That it, Bob?
Yep.
Very good, good points. Anything else? Neighbors? How long you been on Robinson Street?
16.
16 years? Nice area. Nice stomping grounds when I was I used to like my grandmother and grandfather more than my mother and father, so I stayed over there weekends, and I think all kids like their grandparents better. Okay, so we're gonna wait until Nitch. We're gonna put you on for 2 weeks. You heard our comments. I think nothing's out of reach for you, so make those few changes and then work with Nitch, and hopefully in 2 weeks we can see you back here with a if you're gonna have can you put that back up there? And I don't want to keep going, but I don't want you to come back next week, 2 weeks from now. If you're not gonna have a fence on that swale side, is this a guardrail over here too?
No.
All right, well, you're going to have to do something, because now's the time to put it in as a grade, because again, we know how high this is, and if there's a big grade elevation difference, that's going to affect your whatever you do for a guardrail or a fence. And if your intention is to do residential back here, you better start planning now so it looks nice.
Yep.
So, I wouldn't be concerned if you didn't have this thing here, but you do.
Yeah, no, that should, that's all 2-1-2, and I've got guardrail here, we should have guardrail.
Gotta do something though. All right, that was it.
What time for the 20th, the 19th, Mr. Chairman?
Whatever, let's see.
We have nothing there right now.
Well, let's put them on for 6:05.
319.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the 19th, 6:05, continued. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see, we have invoices I sent down back in Maureen's packet. Minutes. Did you, I didn't see any in here. I don't know if she sent them to you.
She sent them to me. Was she out today?
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're going to table the minutes.
Yeah, you're going to have to table it.
Correspondence, I don't have any. Bob, do you have any correspondence?
No, sir.
Town coordinator update?
I'll be brief. The update of the rules and regs. We had a preliminary quote from Nietzsche. I had a meeting with him and the highway superintendent the other day in my office. There's obviously more work than they anticipated based on our meeting and what I relayed to him that the board wants to see done. So he suggested he's going to come back to the board, hopefully next meeting, with a per hour quote. That original estimate he gave us was kind of a cursory number. I think the number's going to, the time effort's going to be considerably more than what you originally thought. That being said, we are going to have to meet with them. So my two options to present to you is if you want to meet with them at a regularly scheduled planning board meeting and maybe designated half an hour over the course of several meetings that we can bring some of our concerns to him and he can come back and make recommendations.
Okay, my comment on that, from going through all of our changes years back, we used to have private meetings at Gilmore Hall, and we would spend hours and hours and hours into the night doing them. But we never had, I would rather it be televised now that we have TVs. And if we don't set an agenda on the agenda, then I think we may miss them. What I would say, though, is I don't want to be here till 9 o'clock at night anymore. So if we do, the nights we do have that on, one public hearing maybe. Because you're going to need more than a half hour. These are, every time we have a meeting lately, I keep saying, I'm kind of looking ahead, and I keep going through the rules and regs, and they're getting more and more outdated. So I think we need to have an hour.
I suggest you designate 45 minutes over the course of 3 to 5 meetings so he can gain the information he needs, the feedback, and then he can come back with a final version, and then you can spend some time and look at it. It's not gonna be accomplished in a matter of a couple of months. It's probably a 6-month project for him.
Right. And it should be. And I've been saying this for 6 months, that everybody, you have changes, even though you may not be here. You've been around for 5 years.
Yeah, I can still suggest.
If there's something that you see that's on there that should be addressed.
I may not be running for re-election, but I'm not going away.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm still living Raynham.
again, if there's something, and I'm only putting that out there because you're, and I keep saying, everybody that has something that's, that's, we want to clean them up so we stop having, I don't want to say disputes, but stuff that was up, just the things that we looked at tonight.
It's not so much disputes, but, as I look through it, again, I'm the outsider in terms of longevity here. I see some of our zoning that was put together, obviously, to suit one particular purpose, or one building that was going to be done, as opposed to a general bylaw that says this is how you do things. And that's the kind of stuff in our regs that we should fix. You either can build on that kind of lot or you can't build on that kind of lot. We've got particular laws because somebody needed to do something, so they got something through town meeting to change the zoning so they can do a particular thing. And it doesn't make any sense anywhere else but for that lot. And those are the type of things I think you want to change and get rid of. My 2 cents.
And, okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah. April 2nd work for the first meeting?
Start them.
Okay, that's what I'll set that up for April 2nd.
So if anybody has, looking for some beer and pizza time, take your rules and regs and just start mulling through them and making some highlights.
So where are we getting the money to pay for this?
We have, we're gonna bring it up. We have a few $100,000 in an account that's planning board money. It's our money.
Okay.
It is allocated, and it is.
Don't tell Mr. Ventresca that.
The wording is the discretion to be used, the discretion of planning board. I had that reworked with a couple of people 4 or 5 years ago who had a lot of money that, so we reworked it, and he signed and agreed, and I did it with town council and tax collector, and
Is that the 200 from the lots that they don't make as affordable housing?
No, that's a whole nother, that's
Okay.
that's gonna be like 300-something thousand that we did. So we have another 200-something thousand that's, I told Bob that we'll make a motion, we'll vote on that when we, but it has to be done. The money shouldn't come out of the town. It should come out of, basically, it's coming out of developers who signed over their money. Perfect. Perfect use for it.
Yep, absolutely.
Anything else?
The couple that was in, what is their address and what is the address of that house?
The address of the house being constructed is Lot 1, 200 Goldfinch Drive. And there, the house right in front of that, on the corner of the second entrance to Goldfinch, it's the yellow farmhouse.
Would does the house at 200 have a 200 on it?
It's under construction.
Okay, so that it doesn't have to have a number.
Yeah, that's the one they just started, right?
Yeah, it'll have a number when it's complete, but it doesn't have a number now, it's being constructed.
You won't miss it.
Not if the house that they live in is a big yellow house. We should be able to spot that.
Yeah.
Serpent?
You know, I'm sorry, go ahead, Serpent.
I mean, I've already told you about the plan for 138. The only other thing is a letter here. I hate letters that start with greetings. I just think of the draft board immediately. The Massachusetts Department of Transportation is converting all exit numbers on freeways to a milepost-based numbering system. So we're going to go to a time where it's going to say exit 27, and below it it'll say formerly whatever. Everywhere in the state.
Well, Maine did it, I don't know, about 10 years ago.
Rhode Island did, 295 they did about 2 years ago in Rhode Island. I don't know about the rest of the roads, but there's 2 public hearings on that if anybody's interested. First one is February 25th at 6:30 p.m. in the Cape Cod Transportation Authority, the Hyannis Transportation Center. And the other one is 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, March 10th in the Beverage Public Library. If you want to go in there and give me 2 cents. That's it for Serpent. I already told you about 138, which is, she said she'd keep me posted on what happens with that.
What's
but that's
going on with the
disturbing
light
to me.
on Center Street? Does anybody know anything on that?
Trying to get an update, I haven't got any feedback
They've been, I saw the gas company out there.
yet.
Yeah, it was probably 2 months ago.
Yeah, they did a lot of work.
So they've been, you know, it was a perfect winter. So I think the issue of, oh my goodness, there's a gas line here that nobody knew about, that made Lopes wrap up and leave, that's all been taken care of. So I think they should start again in the spring. But we've been saying that for 8 years.
I'm going to put those in the rest of the package.
Just if anybody has an interest, I've been to some of these before. I might see if I can get to this one, but what do they call themselves? The Citizen Planning Training Collaborative. Like every March, they have a day of seminars up at Holy Cross College in Worcester, where they have all these little 2-hour seminars on doing all this different stuff. And one of the ones they have this year is drafting zoning amendments. And another one is zoning pitfalls and pratfalls, what not to do. And they have some helpful things. And I think it's like March 21st. But the planning board pays for it if you go, just so you know. And I've done it a couple times, and they have like, there'll be like 5 or 6 classes in the morning to pick from, and then another 5 or 6 late morning, and then they feed you lunch, and they'll have some speaker, and then
What's the time period on that?
I think it's, let me see if I can find it in this email here.
You know what you should do? Can you send that to Maureen?
Yeah.
You must have there's got to be an advertisement or something you can send to her, and then she can put it out.
Yeah, it's an email. Saturday, March 21st. Check-in and continental breakfast at 8. And then a couple workshops, lunch, more workshops. You're out
No
at
nights involved. You
3:15.
can't like stay overnight. Is this in Boston?
No, Holy Cross College in Worcester.
Oh,
Worcester up on the hill.
It's all done by 3:15. Hogan Campus
that way
Center.
Maureen can pass it out.
Yeah.
That might be something, given what we're going to do with the
Yeah.
rules and regs, somebody might want to go to that.
The other thing, if you go, a lot of those they have online, and I know people think I'm weird, but.
I mean, I've been to
You
some.
go online, UMass has New Hampshire, State College has a lot of stuff, and then go on mass.gov, and they have blocks that you can pick different things that you want, and they have all those classes. Because usually they can't just have a class, it has to be, usually it's mandated by the state. And then, or I shouldn't say mandated, it might be approved by the state. They'll endorse it. So then they'll have it on their website. All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.